Hi, everyone. Welcome back from the break. I'd now like to introduce our next speaker, who is Charles Schulz, who's speaking on behalf of Vates. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, George. Hello, everyone. My name is Charles Schulz, and I'll be replacing Olivier Lambert, the CEO of Vates, who unfortunately couldn't attend this year's summit because of a plane issue. But he's obviously following this session and all of the others remotely. So without much further ado, we wanted to give you our weather report from our side and a little bit of an update about what really happened and what's been going on since last year's summit. Just both as a reminder and perhaps also as a kind of a new way to present things. Vates is a software vendor. It's an open source software vendor based in France, in Grenoble, near the French Alps, where everything we do is open source, and we specialize in delivering and providing digital infrastructure management solutions that are based on Xen. We tend to talk about our different software and different products, each of them being discussed separately. But this year, one of the changes that we really started to come together and think of all of this as a one unified stack. And this unified stack, we simply called Vates Management Stack. And, just to give you basically an overview, what we have is a 100% integrated stack. It's user-friendly, it's modern, it's intuitive, it's turnkey. We deliver when we provide advanced backup features, centralized management, and soon hyper-converged storage offering. We try to do this in a modern and open way. So everything we do, again, is fully open source. We expose all of our features through APIs. And we're strong believers in infrastructure as code, and so we work a lot with Terraform, and we have very recently announced Packer integration within our management pane. So it's basically a fully integrated stack, and you can actually see how we look at things graphically over there. So, without much further ado, what's new since last year? Well, let's talk a little bit about the environment and what happened since last year, because a lot of things happened. The first thing is we can actually look at 2022 as a pivotal year, not just for Vates, but for virtualization. For a long time, we've heard the same story as you have. Virtualization is dead, it's out of fashion, nobody cares, whatever. But we all know that virtualization is at the core of everything that can be discussed, done, or delivered in the field of IT. So here's what happened. It was announced that Broadcom would be acquiring VMware, and that pretty much sparkled a whole series of events. So obviously, we all understand that this acquisition is still ongoing. But this, coupled with some specific announcements with respect to Microsoft virtualization stack Hyper-V, no longer being offered for free after the end of support of Windows Server 2019, all of this has greatly accelerated, let's say, the interest on Xen technology in general, and certainly our growth here at Vates. And we're on a day-to-day basis, if you were to ask me. So when you're not an engineer at Vates, what do you do? Well, we're kind of always busy, one way or another, converting users coming from VMware or Hyper-V at this point. That's pretty much what we're doing, and that's what's keep Olivier awake at night. So that's been really one of the key challenges, one of the key opportunities in this past year. The other things I think that I found to be quite notable is that what we really came up with is that we decided that to highlight again some of what we do and how we do it. So I talked to you about being fully integrated, but we also stressed that we're fully open, both as code but also as a project, as a community, and I would like to basically seize the opportunity this morning to reaffirm our commitment to have an upstream first strategy. Also, our pricing model is quite clear, but it's also changing somewhat, mostly in relation to having a fully integrated stack. I'm going to continue a little bit telling you about what's going on at Vates. So one of the main news, and that was highlighted by George earlier this morning, is that we were very excited, very proud to have joined the Xen Project. XCP-ng was actually a sub-project of Vates, but we Vates had never really formally joined the Xen Project, so now that's a done thing. And we're very happy about this because that means that this allows us to step up our commitment, and not just in terms of code, but also trying to help foster and grow our community and our ecosystem. For the second consecutive year, we've been recognized by the Gartner in their server virtualization guide. So we're part of the shortlist of the representative vendors among 20 key other players worldwide. We're really part of the only two companies, two European companies who made it through that list, which is SUSE and our Vates ourselves. An interesting thing that I'd be happy to discuss a little bit afterwards out of that presentation is that we made the decision to sort of step up our presence at events that are not purely open source. And it is quite actually interesting because there is an interest. There's an interest in virtualization. There's an interest in Xen. There's entire industries that really are very interested, if not downright thirsty, to hear about people like us in our ecosystem. And this has been an exciting feedback from us, an exciting experience. Again, we are now clearly committed to delivering our solutions as a full stack solutions and something which we can basically deliver directly for customers and at customers' premise and on their data centers. We've announced, and we will be announcing all around the year 2023, the results of many conversations that we had with potential and existing partners. And so you will see more and more partnerships announcements, both on the hardware level and the software level. About the team, we've been growing significantly. We are now roughly 40 people. And when it comes to what you could call the Xen team at Vates, more specifically, so the XCP-ng team, we are now 15. In 2022, we started 2022 being 8, and we're still growing this team. We now have a rather large spectrum of skills, be it on Xen, but also being in storage, QEMU, but also network, and of course the Linux kernel itself. And we're still hiring. You can go in that URL, and we'll be more happy to continue that conversation downward. When it comes to the XCP-ng community, because I'll talk a little bit more about the XCP-ng community. So this is a community that has grown also significantly. We have 100,000 subscribers to our newsletter, 10,000 subscribers, 10,000 registered members to our forum, so xcp-ng.org. We have a clear number of growing direct contributions in terms of builds, bug reports, patches, what have you. And quite interestingly enough, we are seeing definitely a growth in the numbers of our ambassadors. And by ambassadors, there's nothing formal, of course, but ambassadors are fundamentally people who will, on social networks, on the internet, talk and demonstrate XCP-ng, and actually through that demonstrate the values and benefits of using Xen. And this is something that before was, I'd say, I wouldn't say a minority thing in a sense, but now that we see more and more people adopting these solutions and actually talking and discussing a lot more about the benefits of virtualization in general and Xen in particular. There's a great momentum for XCP-ng, and I'm very happy to report that we have crossed the mark of 1 million unique downloads for XCP-ng. So we're very excited. For the record, when I joined Vates, it was early 2020. We had just passed the mark of 100,000. So that really gets me excited. Now, without much further ado, let me just jump right in, but quite quickly in our latest technology announcements and what we're going to be, what we've done and what we've achieved and what you will see unrolling so far in 2023. So Exolite is an interesting tool. It's a nifty set of tools, management tools, and integrated web UI for XCP-ng at the host level. So before you were basically dealing with an end cursors interface or a CLI command, this is a full web UI. There's no client to install, and with this you can basically handle your VMs, and this is, or even bootstrap Xen Orchestra. We started this effort from scratch, and we really wanted to have a beautiful experience for users. Right now it's not doing everything we might come to expect, but it will soon be covering all the management features we want. So this is, we have two views. I'm going to show two views every time. One is the night view, because it usually doesn't show or reflect quite well on a big screen. So this is one view. This is the light view. So we wanted to have something that where, you know, our users can actually feel right at home. I'm very happy to share these if you want later on. Now, Xen Orchestra. Xen Orchestra, we now have a centralized console for the entire infrastructure management operations. We have new backup features, such as faster transfer and mirror backup, health check. We have now automation tools. Some of those things were quite strategic to us. We've been, developing this, I'm going to say simple, but it's not that simple, but simple VMware to Vates migration tool. So basically, a lot of the VMware customers basically ask us, okay, how can we migrate directly our VMs and our hosts to your technology? And this is something that you can obviously do in a manual way, so to speak, but now we basically have a set of tools and scripts that help these companies and these customers migrate their workloads all the way to a full Xen-based installation. We have warm migration, REST API, smart host reboot, and a number, actually hundreds of other more or less minor improvements. But what we also announced, and I think you will hear more and more about this, is we've announced Project Pyrgos. And Project Pyrgos is really about the ability for Xen Orchestra to manage the life cycle of a Kubernetes cluster. So we're not changing job, we're not changing mission, but we recognize that there clearly is an interest for our customers, for our prospective customers as well, and that they will want, besides managing their virtual environments, they will want to actually manage their Kubernetes instances. And so you might call this VM continuous convergence or not, but this is something that we're quite excited about. There is a number of other new features that are definitely also in the pipe, such as backup immutability, and of course, Xen Orchestra 6. And Xen Orchestra 6 is building on top of all those new features, and we'll have a brand new brand new interface, something that we haven't really touched so far in the past. So just to give you an overview, this is a mock-up actually. It looks pretty good actually in dark view. So that's one view. That's the other. And we've been doing all this with the Vue.js framework, and we've been working with a number of UI experts, because here again we're trying to emphasize on the user experience and the having beautiful interface that are actually making their users more productive. Now about XCP-ng. So we've been announcing XCP-ng 8.3 beta. It's just been released, I think 2 days ago. We're going to have a number of improvements, such as tooling improvements, IPv6 support in DOM0. We have had many contributions upstream, so all the way to the Xen Project, so most especially XAPI and SMAPI. And we are essentially slowly growing our contributions to the Xen project, not just in terms of code, but also in terms of anything else we can bring to the table. I think some of you might have heard of our efforts in order to completely redesign our website and have an enhanced online presence, which would be, let's say, improved. So that's part of what we're trying to do. We're also I will basically confirm that we have now secured the funding for the AMD SCV effort. So that's one of the things that we'll be working on. And we are committed to efforts in porting Xen to ARM and RISC-V as well. So that's part of the things we're doing, and also we're very fortunate to have with us, he's not here with us because he was stuck with Olivier in Lyon, Mark Ungeschagt, who is also helping on a daily basis, tracking and helping managing the project and the code contributions. So what's new itself? We now provide nightly builds and automated tests. We basically have specific tool stack improvements. We've been working on a number of improvements in order to bring Rust to XCP-ng and of course Xen. So we have a number of things going on that we've done this past year, but also you will see more and more features coming up in that direction in 2023. On the storage level itself, we have been working with a French DPU designer called Calray, and we now have the first working proof of concept of Xen, so XCP-ng running on a DPU. So this has there's a number of use cases. It's confusing at first, like why would we want a hypervisor running on a DPU? Well, actually, trust me, it does make a lot of sense, especially if you combine this with a specific network stack. Then you arrive to a rather interesting type of equipment for data centers, for instance. We're now prepared for the next storage stack. So we're working around to integrate SMAP EV3. And we have a number of other improvements. So I talked about the AMD SCV supporting Xen. We've been working, we're doing, let's say, modest yet existing and real efforts to port Xen on RISC-V. We hope to secure more funding towards this goal and make it finally happen. Obviously not in 2023, but at least create some significant advancement in that direction. We will also have the Q35 support in Xen, so that's something we're also quite excited about, and I think we actually have someone here from the team who's dedicated in working on this. So, but what about the future? So we'll, again, continue to commit to having an upstream first policy. So this is something that we are really serious about. And when it comes to, managing both the Linux space, but also the big versions jump, this is something that we also be basically paying more attention and having a more integrated approach towards this. We'll continue essentially bringing more and more of Rust in the Xen project. That's something that we are a strong believer in. And needless to say, we also plan to increase our contributions to the Xen project in a significant way. On the orchestration part, we are planning on developing an NSX-like solution, so something that would be essentially bringing microsegmentation to the Xen platform. And of course, as I discussed about Project Pyrgos, the Kubernetes cluster lifecycle management as well. On the longer run, we clearly have ambitions beyond the x86 world. So we're thinking about a potential port of XCP-ng on ARM, but most specifically on Ampere platforms. Obviously, I discussed a little bit about RISC-V, and what I talked about in terms of DPU, I think you will have, we definitely are wanting to move beyond this. and try to work with the brand new GPU and especially new GPU segmentation such as NVIDIA MIG. So, in conclusion, the virtualization market is well alive, and any report of its impending death are greatly exaggerated, as we would say. There are many innovations that we can work on together. There's much innovation to happen in our field, and most especially inside the Xen Project. We're very thankful to the Xen Project and to the Xen community. This is an amazing piece of technology, and we have to not just keep it, but we also have to grow it. This is our moment to shine. So, last but not least, we have a number of people on our team, even though half of us got stranded on an airport. Not all of them are here, but you can still meet with us today. There is Andrei, Thierry, Jan, and Alexis, and of course myself. If you have any question, now is the time, of course. No question? Thank you.